Hola, lights out faithful, my amigos, if you will. We are so glad you're tuning into this episode, and we're so glad that we can let you know about another iconic tournament taking place on July 13th through the 14th. SmashFactor is back, or SFactor as they're going by now, in Mexico City at the World Trade Center. Registration is already open, so make sure you head over to StartGG to show them some support. And the event is free. There's like $50,000 USD up for grabs, so why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? You know, the whole Lights Out crew will definitely be pulling up to Mexico. Follow them on SmashFactor MX if you want to keep up to date with updates. And of course, check out their Twitch channel as well, SmashFactor Gaming. Going to be a lot of stuff there, not just Smash as well. Other traditional fighters will be gracing the screen along with in-person events that'll definitely leave you entertained. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of Lights Out, and we decided to go back to our ghetto bougie roots. I'm in a hotel. Cosmos is in Mexico. Dakpo is probably living a very nice life right now. And Light
I'm living a nice life. What the heck? Look at my setup.
Shut up, Jim. And Light is in his car before he's about to go do something more pressing matters. But we wanted to bring this episode to you guys, presented by our friends at Prize Picks. Make sure you use that code Lights Out for a $100 deposit match of your first deposit. And we wanted to bring this episode to you to let you know we wanted to discuss the new Universal Ruleset that is for NA that I believe is recommended. And so because of that, I thought it'd be a great idea to bring on one of the creators of that is Dakpo, of course. And I guess the first thing I want to say is, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing well. Today's been a wild day, and I'm glad I'm not normally in the spotlight or a center of any attention, because it's not that fun. But you know, it's been a crazy day, man.
It does. Listen, that's what happens. Well, I guess before we dissect this rule set, let's show people exactly what it is. I'll put it on stage or screen right now. So the Lumi Right tweeted out, today we would like to showcase the recommended unified North American rule set. The full article from project lead Dakpo, who is here, and be described. Starters: Battlefield, Final Destination, Town and City, Small Battlefield, Hollow Bastion. And then for our counter picks, we have Pokemon Stadium 2, Smashville, and Kalos Pokemon League. So I'll start with Light, since he's on a little bit of a time crunch. Light, what was your initial reaction to the recommended rule set?
Well, I feel like I'm going to be a bit weird here, so I actually would prefer to hear your guys' initial reaction first, just real quick.
Okay, Cosmos, let's hear yours.
Okay, well, I just think it's right off the bat, it's insanely strange, the fact that Pokemon Stadium is a counter pick, because we've been playing this game for 5.5 years, and I can promise you, I've gone to so many tournaments, done double tournament weekends, and there has not been one bracket that I played in where Pokemon Stadium was not a starter. So right off the bat, that's very strange. I understand the reasoning of Small Battlefield being like a similar stage layout to Pokemon Stadium. But to me, it still doesn't really sit right, because of the fact that it's just completely different from the way that tournaments have been doing things. So it just, that doesn't really make sense to me. And not only that, I don't like the fact that the stage clause, or the stage list in the stage clause, makes it catered towards specific characters, like one being Kazuya, because I feel like whenever you play against Kazuya, if you have a stage clause where it's like let's say that Kazuya, you win the RPS, you ban Final Destination, and then they ban like Hollow Bastion and Battlefield, and then you're forced to go Town and City and Small Battlefield. Kazuya is really good on both of those stages. Obviously, he's probably much better on Town and City, because it has like a FD style layout. But let's say Kazuya wins that next game, and then he bans Battlefield and whatever other stage, Hollow Bastion, you go Smashville, you win. Immediately, I think it's stage clause, so it's like you can't go to the last stage that you won on. So he can't
Modified
go.
DSR.
Yeah, it's modified, right? So you can't go to the last stage that you won on. So right off the bat, it's like he won on Small Battlefield. You have to ban Final Destination. You have 3 stages that Kazuya is really good on. So like you're gonna ban Final Destination, and then you're picking and choosing between banning Town City or Kalos, and it's like Kazuya gets to go to one of those stages. I feel like that specifically is going to happen with not just characters like Kazuya, but like a lot of characters that just have strong stages like that, with just a lot of the strong characters in this game, which will just make like a lot of more matches much more polarizing, which I feel like is probably my main gripe with the rule set. I do like that there is something that is supposed to be recommended and unified, but I feel like the fact that it's like it seems much different from what most tournaments have been using recently and right now is what's strange to me.
Yep.
All right, that's
Mm.
fair enough. Well, hold on. Dakpo, do you want to rebuttal to what Cosmo said, or Dwight, do you want to give your take? Let's hear it. What do you want to do first?
I can give my take first, and then you guys can just go from there.
Let's do it.
For one, I'm just gonna say, for the little I've been on the podcast lately, it's been very funny how much I've heard Kazuya come out of Cosmos' mouth lately.
Uh,
I feel like that's
been picking up a lot more recently, bro. I swear to God.
Are you scared for what's coming?
Yeah, dude, bro. Especially with this, I don't like fighting against Kazuya, and that's why I was telling you the last podcast. I need you to talk to me about Kazuya because especially with this, it's gonna be way more stressful playing against that character.
Yeah, that cheese lord character. Okay, well, I think I've seen a lot of people give a lot of negative comments about the stage list on Twitter. As far as the stage list goes, I'll be honest, I like it. I like it a lot, and it's for a couple of reasons. For one, I like change, and I don't think a lot of change happens in the Smash community because our game doesn't get updated. There's no patches like that, so there's not much that we can change other than doing year rankings and 6-month rankings. Let's stick to 6 months, please. But yeah, I like seeing change, and I think the stage list is always going to, like, the stage rule set will always benefit somebody. So I don't really feel the problem of like it benefiting some characters over others. It's always going to be that way, especially in the matchups. So that doesn't really bother me as much. I see a lot of people complaining about modified DSR. The thing about modified DSR is I think the reason that doesn't bother me as much is because that's how it was for the entirety of Smash 4 and for like the first 2 years of Ultimate. So modified DSR doesn't really bother me at all. I will say the three bands no DSR was like interesting, and I didn't mind playing on it. The problem with that is you end up on like 2 stages. You know, you end up on your opponent's counter pick, and then you end up on your counter pick, which there has been some adaptation to that where like you realize that like, oh, maybe this counter pick wasn't good. He got a little too close here and I could do better somewhere else. But for the most part, that's not going to happen. For the most part, it's going to be like we play on those 2 stages. And I think seeing a variety is a really like good thing to see. For me personally, I know that I'm very PS2 reliant, and I've recently made a discovery that I feel like I shouldn't be PS2 reliant, right? And I want to play more on stages like Hollow Bastion and like FD, which are 2 starters in this rule set. I'm very bad at both of those stages, but I'm eager to learn those stages. And looking at this, I feel more forced to learn the stages because if this is our unified rule set, I'm going to be playing here a lot, you know? So I can see in terms of the modified DSR why everyone would not like it, but in terms of the stage list itself, I'm pretty much fine with it. Like I don't really have a problem with PS2 or Smashville being counter picks. I mean, Smashville personally to me, I'm used to that one being a starter too, but maybe it's just PS2 since we have small battlefield. I don't really mind it being a counter pick.
Okay. Well, Dakpo, you heard both Cosmos and White. I would love to hear your initial reactions to what they have to say about the list in any order you prefer.
Yeah, sure, man. Dude, Light, he's ahead of the game, man. Like, I was not expecting to hear some of the things you said, and honestly, that self-reflection about playing on PS2 4 billion times, and sometimes DK grabs you at 48%. Maybe this isn't the wave, man. But I think it's really, really cool to hear that flexibility and willingness to adapt and change. And DSR is a very, very interesting topic. I'm curious, and I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, but did any of you guys read any statistics or article that was put out with this?
I read a little bit of the follow-up tweet that Luminary put out of like the reasons why they did what they did, like why PS2 was put as a counter pick, why MDSR is like the way they went for the rule set. I read a little bit of it, but like I just skimmed it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fair, and it's one of the main reasons. Like, I'm glad you guys like host me on this show because I get a chance to actually talk about it. And a lot of it is interesting enough. Like, Light brought up like a lot of really important points about that, especially with DSR, because like, dude, DSR is such a problem because you have to choose like, oh, am I going to play the entire set on one or two stages and that's it, or I'm taking myself to my opponent's counter pick? Like, how do we resolve that? Well, like, obviously, the easiest thing is just to have more stages. But what happens when we want to add more stages and it's like, right, do we add Lilat? Like half of everybody just really dislikes that stage, and it's like this really complicated thing. And like MDSR is the middle point between no DSR and some form of DSR. So it's a really apt pickup. Something I want to ask Cosmos about is especially worrying about Kazuya stuff, which is very valid. It's really interesting to look at a stage list and say, how does this affect the meta? My question to you, Cosmos, is would you, I guess, do you believe in the philosophy of creating a rule set that purposely nerfs certain characters or
I don't
certain
I don't really necessarily believe in a rule set that nerfs or buffs certain characters. I just like believe like I'm not saying that like this rule set needs to be changed solely because of Kazuya. I'm just saying like
I am.
Light is.
There you go. But yeah, I'm just like more so like that is one of the glaring factors that I see when looking at the rule set, and that's why I said like I just used him as an example, but more so like this rule set seems more polarizing for specific characters rather than like giving the option of like it's more. I feel like this rule set, for me personally, when I first look at it, is more polarizing than neutral, in my honest opinion. Because especially with MDSR, I feel like having no DSR and having 3 bans. The reason why I like that, like, I understand the sentiment of like, yeah, matches could be just played on two stages, could just be your opponent's counter pick and your counter pick, and they could stay that way. But oftentimes it doesn't really end up that way because I like the mental mind game of like I like the option of giving the competitors the ability to have the option to ban the stage that they don't want to play on if if their opponent won on that stage. Because with 3 bans, if you lose on Battlefield, you can choose to ban that the next time, but you can also choose not to because you might have figured something out. And it just like it's more up to the player rather than it is up to the rule set and like the format of the tournament. So I feel like it being up to the player makes it less character dependent and more neutral and player based rather than like because of the rule set making it to where like you have to play on these stages and you have to play on different stages like this and you're limited with your bans. It makes it more like character dependent rather than player dependent. That's where I'm coming from.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I understand that. I think in terms of starters and counter picks is where I mainly think it's okay. I think MDSR versus 3 bans, I think that can go either way. Like I understand both point of views. I think Cosmic's a very good point. I would just like to add, I wouldn't say necessarily that having 3 bans like gives the player more control over their character. I think that just comes to the matchup at that point where it's like certain characters are just simply stronger or better in certain like in like a majority of stages than other characters. Like for example, Fox versus Sonic, I think Fox is one of the better characters versus Sonic, but if Sonic's bans
Is Light just
doesn't ban anything.
Did Light just ban himself? Hey guys, while Light is figuring out his technical difficulties, I want you to figure out how to get your style in gear. Our friends at have a special promotion, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it, okay? We all know that when we look in our closet, we reach for that favorite item that's in there, t-shirt, most comfortable sneakers, jeans. In fact, we do it all, okay? You know me, I love, styling it up, especially when I'm at tournaments trying to look my best. And well, guys, I want to share that experience with you. Makes stretch performance denim and lifestyle apparel for men and women, got you ladies, with elevated styles that stand apart and are made to last, as well as having temperature regulating fabrics to keep you fresh, cool, and dry. You know I don't sit on that commentary and sweating, baby. I'm cool with doer. Right now, our listeners, that's you, get 20% off your first purchase when you use the exclusive URL shopduer.com/lights out. It, of course, will be in the description of this video and should be flashing on your screen as well. This is an amazing deal, and I want you guys to take advantage again of that 20%. Head over to shopduer.com/lights out.
He just stopped because he realized that Sonic would never have to ban. Doesn't matter where you take Sonic, he's gonna win. Best character in the game.
What?
I actually don't even know what he was gonna say.
All right. Well, Dakpo, any thoughts on the?
Get rid of me.
He's back. He's back.
You thought you'd never see me again.
Wait, you stopped it.
Anyways.
Sonic is gonna ban and blank.
Yeah, okay. So like if Sonic's fighting versus me, and let's just say he bans like Battlefield, he bans PS2, and he bans Kalos, right? And like he just beat me on like Town and City. It's like, okay, well I don't want to go FD, I don't want to go Smashville, and I don't want to go Hollow Bastion. So I'm forced to go one stage anyways, you know? Whereas with DSR, he bans 2 stages, and I actually have the advantage of picking more stages for at least the first one or two, like for the first 1 or 2 matches that I'm down, you know? Like if I'm down 0-1 or 0-2, I have an advantage just to pick a stage that he couldn't counter pick, you know? In that regard, I think you actually have more control with DSR up until it's like game 5. Then you have 0 control. That's the problem with DSR. Once you hit game 5, you actually have 0 control.
That's fair, and I honestly feel like with this rule set, think that will actually because I feel like a lot of sets recently have been going to game 5. I'm not sure if with this rule set it'll make it like a thing where it's harder to get to game 5 because I do honestly believe that it's more polarizing for better characters. So I'm not sure if like because of that characters will actually like let's say it's like not actual players and they're just bots playing, right? And characters win on specific stages. I'm not sure if because of that, like it'll be a lot more polarizing for specific matchups, or if characters are just going to like actually run over other characters that aren't as good on this stage list, and it'll be more of a like we'll see more 3-0s and 3-1s rather than seeing game 5s. Like I feel like this rule set can influence more 3-1 sets rather than game 5s because, like Light said, if you do have three bans, it will end up like what he said, like you just go one stage and then that's your kind of pick for the entire set. Versus you having to adapt and play on a different stage that might be better for you, but might be worse for you. So I'm not sure if that will make it be like harder to get to game 5, or we might see less game 5s.
What are your concerns, Dakpo?
I mean, I think this is just like a prime example of like why it's so hard to make a rule set everybody's gonna like, because both sides have super valid points, right?
Right.
And again, that's pretty much why we settled on MDSR, because it is a midpoint.
Middle ground.
Yeah, it's the middle ground. Also, just to throw some stats out there too, is in the player survey we did, 80% of people agreed that there was value on playing through multiple different stages throughout the set and wanted some type of DSR. When we asked them directly if you want no DSR, NDSR, or hard DSR, it was split like 3 ways. We could see it went traced back right to whatever region they were at. So you could tell like whatever their local rule set, probably how they were voting. It was really interesting in that regard. And we'll just see like splits like that on all sorts of things. So like something like on NDSR, we'll see something split on that. We'll see the amount of bans. We'll see people split on this. The thing on the ban amount though is you just have to make sure you don't run out of stages. You get dangerously close if you do something like hard DSR. Like if we had 9 stages, we could run 2 bans in hard DSR, and we would have from the get-go, you would have your 5 stages you're going to play on for the whole set. And that'd be interesting. That's a lot closer to what Melee does, but I don't think that. I think it'd be harder to get everybody on board with like a hard DSR with like 1 ban. I really don't see anybody being able to do that. Also, we want to make sure there was enough bans to cover any like platform duplicates. So if you don't want to play on like a bi-plat stage, you can ban both of them, or a single plat stage, you could ban both of them, or something like that. Or if you want to avoid Callus and FD, you could avoid both of them. I think a little bit later it might be worth discussing the whole 3 FDs in the rule set kind of deal. I think that's been really important to some people. Before I go to that, I want to touch up on the thing that's probably the hottest topic out of all of it, which
Let's
is
hear it.
Stadium 2, man.
Pokemon Stadium 2. Yeah, what happened, Doc, bro? What are you doing?
What happened indeed. So I think a lot of people don't really understand why America is like really, really the Pokemon Stadium 2. Because if I tell somebody a stat like at the last Delta tournament in Japan, even with PS2 as a starter, it wasn't the most picked. It was Small Battlefield, which a lot of people are going to go, nah, he's lying. That's not right. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is when the game came out, we didn't have Small Battlefield. We had Frozen Stadium for the first time, and that was sick, dude. I don't know if I can cuss, but it was really, really sick. Everybody loved Pokemon Stadium 2, Frozen Stadium, Biplats. We ran it. We didn't get Small Battlefield in for like 2 years. And by that point,
yeah, it came in during quarantine actually.
Dude, yeah. By the time it came in, dude, we had this like culture around like this biplat. We love this biplat layout. But I don't think people could or really cared to like actually look at the stats of the stage. Like to give you guys reference, our smallest stage is Smashville, right? It's a pretty short stage. Our longest stage by an ungodly margin is Pokemon Stadium 2. So like 160 is the magic number. If your stage length is 160, that's good. That's very normal. That's what Battlefield is. Small Battlefield, Final Destination, Kalos, Lilat, Northern Cave, whatever. Like 160 is what a normal length stage is. Pokemon Stadium 2 is almost at 190. Like it is veering on just like way off the charts, more divergent stat-wise than any other stage that we have. And so we have this weird culture thing of we have this really weird outlier stage, but it's also culturally ingrained in like what we do in America. And so I think when we were going through and we were making a suggested rule set, which later on I want to talk about how it was actually picked, but as we were making it, we had a choice. We were like, do we make a rule set that's like based on like feeling and tradition? Or do we make a rule set based on facts and results? And honestly, we had like an opportunity to do something that was not based on feelings, and that's what we went with. And it's going to irk a lot of people, and I 100% expect that. I expect the reality of what's going to happen is people are going to sit down and be like, dude, I can't play on Pokemon Stadium 2. I guess we're on Small Battlefield, and then they run Small Battlefield for like 20 games in a row, and that's pretty much what I expect to happen. It's not like people can't even go to PS2. Like there's no rules against gentlemening, but I'm pretty confident in all the test trials we've done. Everybody just goes, okay, cool. We're just going to go Small Battlefield because it's the same thing except it has all standardized stats as like the other stages. It's not this crazy long behemoth of Elden Bridge 2, you know? It's weird. It's kind of weird.
Well,
How do you guys feel?
Well, I'll just say this. I'll let you jump in, like, I'll just say this. You just won me over with that explanation. So good on you. I like that a lot, actually. I thought that was really well said and explained and stated, and I got no complaints about that. From a commentary standpoint, it probably makes some matches quicker too.
How long is Town and City? I feel like that feels really long, right?
So 160 is the normal length. 165 is Town and City. It's longer.
Oh wow.
A little bit longer. So you go from 155 to 187 for Pokemon Stadium 2.
We've been bamboozled.
Yeah, a lot of people have no freaking clue.
Wait, so is that like the ground length or like the entire like from left to right from blast zone to blast zone?
No, just the ground. Just the ground.
Wow.
You're just lying.
The blast zone, ledge to blast zone, usually 160 is the exact units for that too. For most stages.
Wow.
Yeah. Except for Town and City. pretty sure the interns coded that one, where the right side's shorter than the left side. And
Oh, really?
yeah, dude, the right blast zone's actually closer.
Which stage?
I on Town and City. I swear, anytime I get side B from Roy and Die at 40, it's always the right side. So that makes sense.
Dude, yeah, like all the Falco clips, you just watch them and like, yeah, they're gonna die off the right side. Yeah, there they go. Wow, they're really proud of themselves.
That's actually crazy to know. Well, yeah. I, for one, am not really against the rule set. I like it. I think a lot of people hate change in general, just in life, especially in this community, in this game. So I think a lot of people are going to bitch no matter what. But honestly, I still think, the better player will most of the time win. You're going to be able to play on your counter picks more with this kind of rule set, at least for the first game. So I think, you'll be able to see if people lose on their counter picks when they could actually probably pick one of their best stages, then you'll see if you deserve to even win or not. I think that's really good. I think this will inspire people to play on a lot of stages that they're not used to playing on. I think people who are actually trying to get better at this game, especially at the top level, should think about stages a lot more, because I am definitely someone who doesn't, or until recently hasn't thought about stages a lot, and I feel like a lot of top players are actually pretty guilty of that, Like, I think a lot of us know how to play. Like, a lot of us like our stages, but not a lot of us lab things or, like, actually pay attention to scenarios that you can do on, like, those certain stages, Like, you like things because you look at the layout and you're like, that's good, but you don't actually, lab a lot of shit you could do there, I think only, like, Sonics does that shit. So, I think this will be very interesting. Biasly, I think for Fox, I think this is a very good rule set for Fox and a very bad rule set for current day me, because I play a lot of PS2 and a lot of Kalos, and I'm very bad on FD and Hollow Bastion. But Fox is very good on FD and Hollow Bastion, and as of recently, I actually think that Fox's worst stage is Smashville and PS2. So all those years of me playing PS2 has probably been fucking me over, actually. So this is going to be very interesting, in my opinion, for myself.
Well said.
I want to say one thing. When the Sonic mains, because you're right, the Sonic mains are thinking about the stages very carefully. When the Sonic mains are going on social and they're like, we're just going to start PS2 anyways. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they want to start on the longest stage in the entire game? But think, man, you're absolutely right, Light, though. Like, a lot of top players that I've talked to is not thinking about stages, not thinking about how they work, what they're actually getting from it. So I'm super glad you brought that up.
Yeah, man. Honestly, can I give a brief discussion from a brief description for my Fox mans out there? Is that fine, chat? Oh, wait, are we live?
No, we're not live.
No.
Oh man,
There's no
is that
chat.
fine? Is that fine, podcast?
Absolutely.
Is that fine? Comment section.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for real. All right, for my Fox mains out there, I'm gonna tell you real quick before I leave why Pokemon Stadium is probably Fox's second worst stage, which is very weird because every Fox main, quote unquote, loves Pokemon Stadium. And we have been wrong for so long. And a certain friend of mine, Nairo, has been trying to convince me of this for a long time. And you know what? I finally agree with him. PS2 is his second worst stage. The reason for that being is for multiple things. One is the current day meta. Steve is very prominent in this meta, as we all know. And the problem with stages like PS2 and Smashville is if you get jabbed at 0 to like 10%, you will die if they get your DI correctly. And PS2 and Smashville have lower blast zones than every other stage in this game. So you will not be able to act out of getting fared at 0% or 20% as you would on Battlefield or FD or Town and City, because the blast zones go down further, especially Battlefield and Small Battlefield. So if you ever had a choice to go Small Battlefield, you'd rather go there than PS2. Another reason is that Fox is supposed to be better with less space, ideally. And PS2, as we just learned, has a shit ton more space than all the other stages. Fox has the ability to get out of very tight-knit like situations, but also pressure people very much when they're in those tight-knit situations, So that's why other stages are better in that regard, and PS2 is not as good. And then the biggest thing about PS2 that also goes for Smashville as well is the platform layout. So on stages like PS2, on Small Battlefield, Hollow Bastion, and Battlefield, you can up smash and consistently tech chase the platform without them doing certain animations. And the reason I say without them doing certain animations is because people think you could up smash the PS2 platform, but you can only do that. Let's say if Mithra does like a down smash, then Fox can up smash them if you were directly under them. But on Small Battlefield and Hollow Bastion and Battlefield, you get consistent tech chases. Doesn't matter the angle you're near, will land them on platforms a lot more often. And yeah, so PS2 is not a bad stage for Fox, but due to these factors, also you can cheese off the top super early in PS2. But due to these factors, it's just overall better to start avoiding PS2 as a Fox main. I know you're probably all super good at it, all super good at up airing and dash attacking people on platforms, but you can do that on about 5 other stages in this game. So I suggest we all, including myself, get better at it. And that is my TED Talk.
Light, I love that. I love the reasoning. I love the revelations, and I love the honesty. And of course, I love the fact you're able to take some time to join us for this discussion. Won't hold you up too long, but I think we're all eager to see you get back into competitive play under some tournaments running the new recommended rule set for NA. So thanks so much for sharing.
Well, I'm retired, but yeah, sure, whatever.
That's why I said when you come back, you Jim.
Yeah, whatever, sure.
All right, get out of here.
Keep paying me. I'm retired.
Dismissed.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right, peace. See you again. Now, Dakpo, I would be willing to bet a lot that people probably, you know where we're going with this, right? Guys was like, you know what? Let's just skip the BS. We got some bills to pay. Guys, I want to take care of one of my sponsors. I'm talking about Prize Picks, baby. Prize Picks, America's #1 daily betting app. I don't have the script right in front of me, but I don't really need it because it's all inside, and it's all inside of you too. Your wallet, I'm talking about. Yes, because you can get up to $100 matched on your first deposit, up to $100 from the Prize Pick app using code Lights Out. Now, you all know it's very important in the esports space to gamble, okay? Because at the end of the day, half of us aren't good enough to make it to the bracket when it really matters anyway. So we might as well live vicariously through those who can actually do something that we can only dream of, okay? And how about betting on rule sets being adapted and accepted? I would have lost a lot of money if I had bet on Light actually being a fan of the new rule set. Because I just generally don't think
would have too. I guarantee you that.
I would have went broke. All right? I would have went broke, and I would have went broke on Prize Picks. But luckily, that's not the only thing I could bet on. I could bet on the playoffs, which are coming up. Go Mavs. I can bet on other sports I don't pay attention. Shout out to soccer. I can just bet on anything I want because Prize Picks makes it that easy. So make sure you use that code Lights Out for your first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less, pick right. Hopefully no one's checking this. Well, let's pick up this conversation. Dakpo, very eager to know how this rule set even came into effect. Can you give us some of like the backstory, some of the people involved, the players? Like, just give me the whole rundown on how we arrived to this moment, because it is quite the moment.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy to clear that up too, because with my DMs right now, I think everybody thinks that I'm the sole person who did everything and all of this. And it's the things I've seen today. So basically, this is something that's been tried to be done before. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's something that's really enticing, really can bring the community together. And it was previously solely in the responsibility of TOs for North America, our major TOs. And I mean, I don't want to badmouth them or anything like that. They're busy. They're working to make their own tournaments successful. They've got other things to do. And it's really hard to gather all of these TOs and have these types of discussions. It's like herding cats. They're just so busy doing the other thing. So it tried to start up. I think probably it's tried like 2 or 3 times. And it just never came together because nobody could really like wrangle the leadership together.
Yeah.
Flash forward to about October of 2023, so last year. The discussion was pretty much dying out again. And I stepped in. I said, hey, do we need somebody with like organizational skills to kind of start getting this thing going? Just as a bit of a background, I'm a director in my actual career, my main career. So people managing, doing meetings and processes and project management, that's all my bag. So I do that on the regular. So I decided to help out, started organizing meetings together. We had another member really be helpful. Captain L, I'm pretty sure you've heard of Captain L before.
Of course.
Okay. Al really brilliant mind in terms of thinking abstractly and working with data. We decided that if we're going to make a unified rule set, we're going to want a few things. We don't want to just go in there and be like, cool, this is what the panel wants. Good luck, guys, figure it out. So first thing is we wanted input from the players. How do we do that? Or how do we do that? We made a survey that went out to all the players. Limmering tweeted it out. They put it on all their platforms. We had like a few thousand participants. We had a pretty large candidate pool on it. And it gave us a lot of information. We asked questions about essentially what do you find like a reasonable parameter in competitive play if a stage is this long or a stage is this long, or would you find it viable for competitive play if a blast zone is this close or this close? I'm going to give you stage examples and stuff like that. But you would see things like, oh yeah, Tennis City is fine. When you get to WarioWare blast zone, nah, that's where we drop the line. And you see like huge approval ratings drop off, and we have all these numbers and stats, which is I must have been in the article anyways, if you want to check it out. So we have a huge player survey, so we've got a lot of database there. And then we set up a voting system. So I didn't vote on the rule set. Captain L didn't vote on the rule set. It was nothing like that. What we did is we got together as many TOs as we could, and we tried to host panels with information. I actually ended up putting together like a 10-minute informational video about what the results were. We had like viewership stats too, of like when viewership drops or what our viewership prefers to. I think maybe that might be, relevant for you to know or interesting for you to know because it talks about commentators too.
Yeah.
But I basically broke down all the information we had, and then we got together with as many people as we can, which I'll be very candid, not all 20 North American CEOs were like joining these calls. Because again, it's almost impossible to hurt everybody. We took a lot of the criteria that we wanted in a rule set that we were getting from the data and what a lot of the panelists played in. So things like we didn't want a lot of duplicate platform layouts in our starters. We didn't want a Smashville and a Hollow Bastion. We didn't want PS2 and Small Battlefield or something like that. We wanted to make sure that we had enough bands to cover all the duplicate platform layouts. We took a middle ground of DSR from the stats and from the amount of stages we had. So we basically created a suggested rule set based on not only what the players were saying, but what aligned a lot with what most of the panel agreed with. And from that point, we held a vote, a runoff vote. When a runoff vote is basically if you've got a bunch of different candidates, which we had our suggested rule set, and then we had a bunch of established rule sets in the vote as well. If you can think of an established rule set, it was on the vote most likely.
Gotcha.
And so we sent it out to all 20 CEOs for North America that were in the discussion. And our first round came back, and it was a suggested rule set and another one. And then we did our second round of the runoff vote and suggested rule set won that one. So the TOs voted on the rule set. It happened to be the one that the panel had come up with. And so it was more a collaborative effort of TOs got the final say, but I think it was a collaboration of players, coaches, and TOs that came together to just create the suggested one that got put into the vote. So that's a little bit background of how it actually happened. It took like 6-7 months. I get fired from the spot if a project took that long on my job. But no, it was good. I got to meet a lot of the TOs that I hadn't really like formed relationships with. And right now it's at an interesting place where there's a lot of TOs that are gung-ho with it. And there's a lot of TOs that are like, I'm super down to run this if y'all don't die the first, tournament that it's played at. I'm like, that's like I get this hesitation. It's weird, dude. Like, where's PS2? What the heck? Well, and there's definitely like Midwest rule set is really, really interesting because it was a lot of people in the Midwest are they're gonna die before they use anything but the Midwest rule set. And like, that's fine, dude. Like, y'all do your own thing.
Been that way since Brawl.
Oh, really?
It's been that way since Brawl, man. Yeah, trust me.
Yeah, I just hope that people will look at the rule set and be like, cool, that's weird. There's weird stuff going on. Read why these decisions were made. Like, see that there's a huge drop off in approval rating from Small Battlefield to something like Pokemon Stadium 2, which was, fun fact, the lowest approved legal stage that we put on the list. I hope that they just read the article, be like, cool, this is weird. I'm not like super familiar with it and it's a little uncomfortable. Just try it. Like, if we have worst case, dude, like, there's no way this game lasts like too much longer. Like, there's no way there's like another Smash Not a Riot around the corner. And the hopes is we have an established rule set. Maybe it's not to everybody's liking, but we have a process. And then when the next game comes out, we have like an established rule set from really, really early on. And maybe if we are ahead of the game, dude, we could have like seasonal changes. Maybe we rotate stages around like that. But like, if this fails, if this doesn't go well, we're just starting from square one again.
First of all, I want to say it takes, because I can only imagine the community feedback that you got, or feedback from some people. Some people are very vocal. It's not always in a constructive manner; it's in a rude manner. Yeah, I have some thick skin for that, so I commend you guys for taking on that burden. Love the idea of potentially, like, because I think this kind of lays the groundwork and almost like the framework for, as you said, a new title coming in, and then getting the opportunity to make like almost like some seasonal changes, like you said. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna remove Talent City. We're gonna put on Dreamland for this season. Just something fun like that. I think that's a great way to keep the game fresh, and I think it's a good way to challenge the meta that we're in, because maybe some characters aren't going to always excel on whatever stages are in the particular rotation. I think that's a great opportunity. I've been somebody who's very vocal about mixing things up, even adding some kind of quote unquote wonky stages. That's just me. I know we're not there yet, but we're taking the right steps there, and I'm very happy about that. Now, Cosmos, as a player, surely you're down for the challenge of adapting a little bit.
I mean,
come on, Jim.
When you really like, I'm gonna become completely honest. I'm playing Pyramithra. She's good on every single stage in the game. So like, when I'm thinking about it, I'm not really thinking about it like as a problem for me, because I was talking about Kazuya, but I've literally beaten 2 or 3 of the best Kazuya players on Final Destination. I just mean more so for like other characters, because I think Pyramithra is one of the characters that does well against Kazuya. I just personally I don't like fighting that character. That's just a personal thing. That's not like a actual like thing that I think should be used for consideration for making a rule set. That's just like a personal gripe of me. But especially after here, I'll be completely honest. Like Light said, I had no idea that Pokemon Stadium was like the longest stage in the game, and I do honestly also prefer shorter stages too. And like for someone like a Sonic player, like that does make sense why it is difficult to play against a character like that on a stage like that. So it does make sense why you can see Sonic players winning game ones a lot when matches do start on Pokemon Stadium like all the time.
So come back, he's like, say that, bro. Sonic's is gonna come after me. He's like, I know where you are in Vegas, man. I'm there too.
Yeah, dude, I had absolutely no idea that was actually a thing. So I'm glad I had that information, and I definitely know that I can adapt to the rule set overall. Like, my main gripe with it is like, I'll still stand on the fact that I do like having giving the competitors more more leeway with like their choices on counter picks, because I feel like having modified DSR does take that away, and having 3 bans can having 3 bans does make it to where like it can essentially be modified DSR if the player chooses for it to be, but they can also choose for it not to be. But like Light said, you in those scenarios you will have players just pick their one counter pick, and you're just going back and forth until like somebody just wins essentially. So that's why you see a lot of game 5s. So I do believe that at the end of the day, the better player will win. And some part of me also does believe that if you are the better player, you should be able to prove it in any format and in more scenarios rather than just like one stage or 2 stages. So that is something that I do feel like could be a plus from this, because it'll be like there is more reason to believe that the better player won because they wanted more scenarios rather than just one stage, essentially. So that is one thing that I am looking forward to. But I think if you are a good player, you just adapt, and that's really is what it is. I feel like at some point this discussion won't really be too much of a problem because people, like Dakpo said, will just end up starting small battlefield. Because that's pretty much the Pokemon Stadium. That's, I guess, in my opinion, fair now that I know that it's not the longest stage. But yeah, I feel like people are just going to end up starting there, and that's just going to be the starting stage for most people.
Dakpo, real quick, I want to get like some of your I'm gonna give you a chance for your final thoughts and stuff, but I want to know what tournaments can people expect the new suggested rule set to maybe be a part of coming up in the next couple of months, if you're able to reveal any of that.
Yeah, I mean, the first and biggest one is it's going to be the rule set for Supernova.
Okay, nice. Wow.
I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest premier events of the year.
Easy.
I know Wave Dash is running it, and the Cirque Florida events are running it. I know Turning Locator is going to be running it at any of their future events as well. And I think that's just what we're getting started with. As I mentioned before, there's some TOs that are like, I'm down. I just want to make sure we don't die first. And if it works out, which by the time Supernova happens, there'll be like some people complaining, but it's not going to stop anybody from showing up to a tournament.
I agree.
We start getting satisfied. So,
what do you mean, like we don't die first?
So, for example, if you like just name search me on Twitter, like that would be an example of somebody dying, right? With everybody just claiming for no Pokemon Stadium 2, and they don't agree with like DSR.
Right.
They really needed WarioWare, and they don't get why we didn't include it. The Lilac people, there's every aspect of it. It's crazy. But yeah, as long as it like runs well, performs, and like starts becoming easy enough. Fun fact, I don't think we talked about it. Nintendo actually approved this stage list. I think it's the first time we've had Nintendo approval for anything quite like this. And what I mean by that,
what?
Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. So we also, while this was going on, I've been in contact with the Nintendo competitive head for North America. And there was a big debate whether Smashville was a starter or Hollow Bastion was a starter, purely based on if copyright were going to be an issue. Like, a lot of people don't think about this. Look, nobody randomly on Twitter is going to think about, what it costs for production to mute audio for certain stages and certain victory themes and have to deal with all this. And, we were thinking like, well, Smashville is smaller than a normal stage and it's got different parameters. It's not ideal as Hollow Bastion, but it doesn't have any copyright issues. But we actually found out that those copyright agreements, this game's been out so long, they've fallen off. And
really?
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. So I was really sad. I really wanted Hollow Bastion as a starter because it's normal 160, 160, 160, all that good stuff. And then Nintendo confirmed it. We sent them the list that, hey, this is what our unified rule set is after the vote. Are there any issues, any copyright issues? Is it approved? And they're like, yeah, you're good to go. Good luck. We hope it works out. So I was like, sweet, all works out. But,
yeah, that's pretty crazy. I would not think that Nintendo would allow Hollow Bastion to be a starter, let alone an actual stage.
We wouldn't have done it. We would, exactly as you said, we would have run Smashville as a starter if there was going to be a licensing issue. There was even debates of just not having Hollow Bastion.
And then they were just like, not fine.
Yeah, the agreements they run out.
Wow.
And they're not being reviewed. So until I hear otherwise directly from Nintendo, we're all good, man.
Dude, that's a big deal, and that kind of goes to my tinfoil conspiracy hat that Nintendo is not done with the competitive Smash scene, and it's just a biding time until the new game comes out. And this just adds another layer to that, which is awesome because I love Nintendo. Personally, I've worked with them. I worked with them as early as last week, great individuals up there. So I'm glad they were able to help you out and approve that rule set, Dakpo. I mean, I'm excited for it. For sure, I will be casting it at Supernova, so I'll definitely be eager to see how that pans out and see how the players adapt to it. Even a lot of our international guests, right? Because again, this is recommended NA, but see how some of our Japanese guests and some of our European guests capitulate and are able to perform under this too, man. I think you've done a really cool thing here. I think with a lot of change and shakeup comes a lot of resistance, but I would be willing to wager 2 to 3 months from now it'll all be smooth sailing. My prediction.
Exactly. What I'm thinking too.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I needed to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like especially after Supernova runs it and like everything seems like it's like pretty much normal and like it's always been. It's just gonna be something that people are just running from now on.
Yeah, it'll go well, man. Can't thank you enough for taking your time, Dakpo. This was invaluable. I'm gonna get this up like ASAP tomorrow, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna tune in because they're gonna be able to get it more in depth. And you know, some people are not gonna read a lot of stuff, but when you're able to just put it in their ear, no diddy, it makes it a lot easier to consume and digest. So they'll appreciate that. So I'm sorry. So,
You
but,
just gotta get some of them out there.
I gotta get one. I gotta get one in there. But thank you, Dakpo. This was awesome, dude.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care, brother.
Yeah, peace out.
All right. Well,
Yep.
that was awesome. Loved the fact you and Light were able to chime in. Raise some concerns that have been answered. We found out a lot of new information. I had no idea about that. I think he said at town and city, the right side is shorter on the blast zone. Dude, that's insane.
I didn't know that either.
That explains how Cola stole that win from Leo. I knew it. I knew it. You didn't earn that, nigga. You didn't earn nothing against my goat. I'll say it. But nah, that's cool. One last thing before we get out of here. You little Jim, we're sitting here discussing all these changes to Smash and all this other stuff. And I feel like for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, all I've been seeing you stream is Multiversus. What the hell is going on? Are you on Multiversus Pro now? I was like, ninth at that 1,500 person tournament.
Yeah, dude, I've been playing the game. It's funny because I know that I know that I'm getting so good at this game, and like I can actually feel it. And not just that I feel that I'm getting good at this game, but I also know that everybody else sucks at this game. That's really what it is. Like me, I can see why Void and the Cat ended up winning Evo because like when you're a Smash player, you just have like I don't know if it's cocky or like prideful or anything, but when you're a Smash player, you just have more game sense than like almost any other fighting game player or even just game player in general. Like that's why you see a lot of Smash players.
Say platform player. I don't want to go to war with the FGC. Not yet.
Like that's why I feel like you see a lot of Smashers be very good at different games, like not just fighters, but also like shooting games and stuff like that. And like you see Void being like just a very good gamer. Even Zachary, like he's doing very well in like multiple different games too. Like I feel like I finally accepted that part of me and like put that into like fruition, like actually tested it out, and I started seeing that like I'm good at multiverses, and I see the other players playing multiverses, and I see the issues that they're having, and I can easily solve the problems in my own play, which is why I can beat them. Which is why like I played in Coinbox, which was Friday. The first time I entered in was Friday. The second one was Sunday. I entered Coinbox, had like 1,000 entrants, and I got 49th. And then 2 days later, I played for like 5-6 hours a day, and then entered the next tournament, and I immediately just got 9th. And I felt like I was actually playing a lot better, not just that my bracket was a lot better because I played a lot of good players too, and the same character lineups that I lost to in Coinbox. So yeah, I feel like especially in this game, I'm going to be a very good player, and I'm not entirely sure where the game's gonna end up going, but wherever it is, I do feel like I'm gonna end up being there for it because I do have faith that the game can be a very good game. It sucks that it's not at Evo, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like at the next Evo or something. So if it is, I would definitely be there.
Nice. Love to hear it, man. Wish you the best, even though you abandoned Batman for Harley, you little snow bunny chasing Jim.
Don't worry. She's probably good, bro. I swear to God, everybody keeps complaining about nerfs that I'm not gonna be so surprised if every single character that everyone's complaining about is getting nerfed. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to Batman if they get Harley, or I don't know. Maybe I'll just find a way to make her work, or I don't know. Maybe I mean I assume there's going to be a lot of new characters coming out, and I know that they tease characters in the reveal, so maybe whenever one of those characters come out, I might try them, and I might just play another character. So I'm not entirely set on my ways on what character I'm playing, but Harley is broken as shit right now, so I'm playing her.
You down to run does with me next week, man? Trying to be the lights out duo?
We can test it out. That's what I'll say. We can test it out.
See, I got
How did you do in the Twitch Rivals tournament? Because I got fourth in the Challenger one.
We won a round and then we lost because we started in losers. We got third. We got third in our group. Yeah, I guess we got ninth. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I mean, I only played the game for like 5 hours.
Who do you play?
Huh?
Who do you play? What character do you play?
Wonder Woman.
Okay, we can run it. We can run it. We can run it. Wonder Woman, Harley. We can run. I'm teaming with Sandstorm. He plays Wonder Woman, so I can definitely show the ropes.
All right, that'll work for me. Guys, make sure you show this video some love. Big shout outs to Light for stopping by for quite a while long discussion. Dakpo being our special guest. And of course, me and Cosmos the mainstays because we're actually responsible. So make sure you guys are responsible too for liking, comment, and subscribing. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.